Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Rostermania goes crazy, especially as the Pacific are now getting involved as well. DRX and especially Gen.G, they are getting in on the act. Yes, they are renegotiating their contracts, but rumour has it many of these guys may be totally out of the picture for next season, and major chaos unfolding as to where some of these players are going to end up next year after an underwhelming end to the season for that Gen.G roster. Talk about Aspas as well, whether he's getting another insane mega bag offer from this time a Chinese team. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to start here, of course, with Ascension. So, Enterprise Esports yesterday were eliminated from the tournament. These, to be honest, were one of the favourites to do some serious damage. This was Zeke, Kyle's. It's not pronounced like that, but you know, so some other names that you guys will be familiar with. But Starkzo and the team on Job Life, they got the victory there. So, they're still moving through that side of the bracket. And yeah, not yet to be qualified any of these teams yet, but Focus were eliminated, Enterprise Esports were eliminated. These will determine the 4 teams, of course, that get to go to the playoffs. Zeke was pretty frustrated about it. Second year in a row, coming to Ascension as one of the favourites, and again, failing miserably. So, yeah, wishing all of these players involved the best. Unfortunately, only one can come out on top. This is how things are squaring up in the Pacific, because not all the games are still yet concluded here, but Boom Esports, they got a win yesterday against E-King. That put them to 3-1. Nongshim at 2-1. They should be fine. But the playoff seeding has not yet been fully determined. But this is at least how it looks from the side of Group A. That'll, of course, be officially locked in tomorrow. The Americas, this was a really big deal yesterday. So, Team Solid, they got the win against Winthrop University. So, big result for them, because Winthrop played pretty well in their first series. But this is DG Zan, Havoc, and Co. Rafa, other names you'll be familiar with there from the Brazilian side. So, these guys are also a serious threat. I mean, DG Zan is a quality player. He goes 48 and 25 for a plus 23. They 13-5 them on the Corrodes, 13-10 on the Ascent. So, Team Solid advance into the playoffs. The other game, though, of course, TSM versus Envy. Banger series, as expected. But TSM, they just had too much. I will say, Kanzera, his last few series have been a little bit underwhelming. And, well, Timotino from the TSM side, he was the one doing the serious damage. Envy brought a crazy comeback game 1. I mean, look at this stuff. They were literally down 11-3. They brought a comeback on the Haven to win it 13-11. You'd have thought at that point that TSM mentally might have been compromised. But no, they bounced back and won the Sunset 13-5, and then they won the Abyss 13-8. So, look, on this evidence, Envy, maybe they can bounce back, right? But that was a pretty brutal defeat. So they've still got a chance. Envy will play Stelle Gaming today to determine if they can make it. Winthrop University play 9Z, but the 2 teams that will now be considered the favourites for the playoffs are TSM and Team Solid. So only one, of course, can qualify for the Americas League. So banger stuff to comment on that side. As Timotino says, damn, we choked that Haven, but all good. We got away with it. Happy with how we're playing as a team. Let's talk about Rostermania, though. No more time to waste, because a lot was going on yesterday. Firstly, Mindfreak. Of course, PaperX, they made the change. Mindfreak went out of the team, stayed around on the bench for some time. Quality player, but PaperX, they felt like they needed a move to take it to the next level. That's what they did, and they went to the next level, right? So I still think Mindfreak's a quality player who will be, I'm sure, in conversations with other teams as well. Which other teams? That is a good question that we shall discuss here in a second. They also announced this about Devai, but they say, he says thanks, but there's nothing else going on there. So yeah, just to keep in mind that there are still some troll tweets doing the rounds. Some tweets, however, not trolls at all, such as this one. So DRX, they had all sorts of drama, really, going into the World Championship this year. They had a ton of players who were there and then they were gone. Estrella was part of the team, then he wasn't. They brought Bayan, of course, back in for their World Championship run, which ended up going rather well indeed. So as a result, Estrella is now gone. He's departing as a free agent, did play his part for the team, but when it mattered they made a change, and it worked out for the better for them. There's also talk from Chichu, so there were some rumours, of course, that Edward Gaming would look to make a change. And arguably, they need a change. You could well look at it that way. Edward, yeah, they won champs last year, they came in this year to the World Championship again, they came top 16, they bombed out in last place. There are plenty of other Chinese players who they could potentially look at. But Chi says that, as it stands, there are no plans. So that means that the team is looking to stay together with Kang, Jenny, Nobody, Smoggy, and Chi. Look, do they need to bring Simon back? Maybe on some level they do, but it's not going to happen, right? The bridges there are burned. I don't think Simon's coming back anytime soon, despite the fact that his team did not qualify for the Pro League through Ascension, but I'm sure that Simon will be in conversations to join some other team instead. There's also ZJC, right? Alphabet Man. He's sitting on the bench. No one's seen him in months. So, is he an option still, right? Like, he's still potentially about on the roster. So, yeah, I don't know exactly whether this is a good idea for Edward Gaming to stick it out. Domestically, they'll probably still be fine. But when a team doesn't deliver internationally like that, I just struggle to see a world where this team of 5 actually does really come together and start being very competitive again for internationals. Maybe time will prove me wrong. T1 let go of Autumn and another coach as well. But this is pretty interesting because Autumn's been around with T1 for a very long time. They had the big success this year in Bangkok, but after that things didn't quite go to plan, and as a result T1 are looking to change up their approach. Autumn is gone. They also, if I just find the other tweet, yeah, Indigo is gone as well. So both of their coaches coming to an end of their road with the team, and I could spend more time on this, but the real big talk right now in the Pacific is about Gen.G. T1, of course, are also involved in this discussion too, because you might well expect some of their players could end up on these new rosters. But as Gen.G say, thank you Solo, HSK and Perry. Now, it's worth keeping in mind here that the contracts are concluded for many of these individuals. Does not necessarily mean that all of these individuals are going to go, but it is quite possible that they do. So, as they describe, they will be departing following the conclusion of their contracts, but they continue to engage in positive discussions. So basically they're saying, yeah, we are going to part ways with these individuals from the coaching side, and they say a similar thing with regard to the players. And this is pretty wild for Gen.G just to do near enough a full squad wipe here at the end of the season. All the talent that they've had on Gen.G, and, they delivered for a time, but then when it mattered at the end of this year, of course, they just didn't make it. And, Gen.G's contracts with Texture, with Munchkin, with Karon, and with Lakia have come to an end. We would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the 4 players for their dedication and contributions throughout the season and wish them the best. The players are in free agency. We remain in positive discussions with them to explore potential opportunities in the future. Grateful for the time we shared together. So, look, they can re-sign some of these players, but, I get surprised why people get surprised at this, because people see them squad wiping and, loads of these players either leaving or their contracts are up. People are like, oh my God, I can't believe they would do this. It's like, well, did they win champs? Did they even qualify for champs? No. So of course the organization is going to look to go in some different direction, and probably the players want to mix things up as well, and they may have other offers which they find difficult to turn down. So Gen.G confirm, these are big names though, like to go to this extent is pretty interesting. And yeah, according to some rumors that were happening as well, Texture and Solo reportedly expected to leave. So it's not as clear as like, oh, well, yeah, Texture's contract might be up, but he's probably going to be re-signed anyway. Apparently that is not necessarily the case. Munchkin even confirms that, yeah, he's gone, right? Like, usually Munchkin or the guys would say in their tweets that, well, I'm still in negotiations, just exploring other opportunities. But no, Munchkin says straight up, this is the end of my journey. I won't be there anymore. I'll carry these memories. So time for a new adventure. So it's pretty clear that Munchkin is gone. Texture may follow along similar lines. As a result of that, we got some pretty interesting tweets, such as this one from Heretics. Of course, given the fact that they need a mini Boo replacement at some point in the near future. We've got Karon dropping the kind of monocle thinking emoji, whatever you would call that. And, well, I don't exactly know what he's implying by this tweet, but I thought that was pretty interesting. We did also get this tweet from Meteor from the T1 side, who drops the sob emoji. But actually, maybe it could work out quite well for T1, because who knows, maybe they could sign a couple of these guys. So there's all sorts of possibilities going on right now in the Pacific. But as it stands, Ash is there, Foxy9 is there, and that's it. Everyone else is gone from Gen.G. Those are the only guys they've got under contract. They've got no coaches either. So it is a full Gen.G rebuild for next season, and what that means for a number of those very, very talented players is an excellent question. That is not the only drama of the day. Yesterday we talked a lot about Fnatic, the rumours that had emerged thanks to Kojo, their team director. that they were looking to re-sign 6 contracts, 3 players, 3 coaches, and they had re-signed 3 successfully, 1 unsuccessfully. Now, according to rumours, that 1, because some were worried about Chronicle, worried about Crashies, that could still be the case. I don't entirely rule it out. But it does seem that Scut, who was their assistant coach, will be moving to Vitality. So if you're a big Fnatic fan of that roster, you want that roster to stay together, you are safe for the time being. If this is indeed the move that Kojo was hinting at, that Scott's got what he deems as a better opportunity from Vitality. So pretty interesting stuff. Sed is set to remain with Fnatic as their performance coach. And that's pretty interesting, right? So maybe if that deal is expected to get done, then that's another tick in the box for Kojo. So maybe the concerns are valid as to whether there's anything else going on there with the players. We also got this from Durka. I'm not going to spend minutes trying to diagnose what he's referring to, but usually when you see stuff like this, it's obviously referring to individual players. Presumably Durka would be the egg in these analyses, and then you can try and figure out what other players are involved in all of these different emojis. But yeah, Durka was taking everyone for a little bit of a ride yesterday. There's also other rumours with regard to Chronicle and Fnatic, because Chronicle's contract is up, right? They will need to re-sign it. Apparently, he's not yet re-signed that deal, right? Now, doesn't mean that he won't. As Rocket Bullet says, there will be negotiations with Fnatic, with probably other organizations as well. I'm sure that Liquid, they may be interested. It's just a theory, obviously, but it's something at least to think about. So it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but it's not like one of those 3 ticks in the boxes from Kojo is Chronicle re-signing. We don't believe that that is true for now. The same rumor has been reported for Sentinels as well with Gen.G. So Gen.G's contract is up. I'm sure there will be interest from other teams as well. And, to be fair, this tweet is actually exactly the same formatting as this tweet. So maybe it's not real. I don't know. But I think this wouldn't be too much of a surprise anyway, that if Gen.G is out of contract, which he is, he may not have re-signed yet. Doesn't mean that he won't, but yeah, time will tell on that one. Couple of other updates in the Americas quickly. We've got Silence apparently reaching a verbal agreement with Crew. So they've got Sadak. We think that's at least how they're starting to build their team. There were rumors about Less as well, but we'll see whether they can get that deal done. There's also rumors about Furia, that indeed Koala Noob, Artzan, Basic, at least that as a core 3 might well be the case. So all sorts going on there. And just the final thing to mention here is on Aspas. Now, Ryan, he does a ton of troll tweets, but some of his tweets are actually sometimes real. So usually in his troll tweets, he will say, this tweet is not real and it's just a test. But he actually says this. Sources say Gen.G Esports are in active negotiations with Aspas for next year. Sources close to the deal tell me they're prepared to offer him a 6-figure monthly salary, which would be at least $1.2 million a year. Depends on what currency we're talking about there. This tweet is real and not a test. Now, look, this may not be real, but it is worth considering because we know that Aspas has had big offers before. We know the Bleed Esports situation. We know that, was it DRG or was it some other team that seemed to have a lot of money to potentially try and steal Aspas last year before he went to MIBR in the end? These Chinese teams do have money to spend, and of course MIBR will try and hold on to Aspas, and there will be so many other teams interested in his services. But money does talk, and if Gen.G could offer Aspas $1 million+ a year, I would say there are plenty of cons to that deal. But there are plenty of pros as well, 1.2 million of them, or maybe something more than that. So I don't really know where all this money is coming from. But yeah, if that's true, I think it's pretty remarkable. So very much interested in your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.